Hello, boys and girls. It's Becca Switzer with Roof Sales Mastery and author of Diamonds in the Sky. Today we're going to talk about sacrifice. And no, I'm not talking about goats and lambs in biblical times. I'm talking about sometimes giving certain freedoms up and things that you want temporarily to achieve your long-term goals. This is not just in the roof sales game. Obviously, it's in life, but we're going to use some examples about both. But guys, if you want certain things in your life that you do not currently have, you're going to need to do something that you've never done before, because up to this point, whatever you've been doing has not gotten you to that point. And so, for example, let's say you're trying to get fit. Well, you've been eating pizza two nights a week. You've been drinking beer on the weekends. You have chocolate chip cookies for breakfast sometimes, and Chinese takeout and Taco Tuesday with margaritas every Tuesday, okay? And you love doing that because you love shrimp lo mein, and who doesn't love guacamole? And margaritas are dank, okay? And I love pizza. Oh my God, the marriage of cheese and dough is like, it's the sexiest combination of food that I've ever seen. If I had to choose one, that'd be it. Okay? And you love that stuff. And you love sleeping in. But you want to be fit. Well, then you're going to have to be okay with giving up pizza 2 times a week, Taco Tuesday every week with margaritas. You're going to have to give up some of your favorite dietary options, and you might have to give up an extra hour of sleep to get up and exercise if you want to achieve that goal. And if you're not willing to make those changes, you're never going to get the goal that you're after. Guys, if you want to make a certain income, you're going to have to bust your ass for a bit. All right? There are certain things you're going to have to do. Right now, if you're in debt, you're going to need to not spend money on certain things. Well, but I deserve it. I deserve to go get myself a new sweater or a new scarf, and I deserve to be able to go and take myself out to dinner once a week. Okay, sure, maybe you deserve it, quote unquote, but is that in alignment with your goals? If you don't have that money to spare right now, you're gonna have to be okay with not spending that money. You're gonna have to be okay with cutting out the Starbucks, cutting out the meals out, cutting out buying drinks when you go out, okay? Maybe not going out at all for a while, not buying new clothes for a while, not buying the new fucking iPhone. God, there's so many people who can't afford like the most basic things, but they go and get the new iPhone X47 or whatever it is that they have. It blows my mind. So guys, sometimes you're just gonna have to sacrifice, and I'm gonna share, my personal story a little bit here, because I sacrificed a lot when I was a young person to get to where I am today. And I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for me willing to be willing to make those sacrifices, to work as hard as I did, and to give up the things that I did temporarily. I dropped out of college after my sophomore year because I started selling Cutco knives, and I was making really good money doing that. But it required me at the time to leave all of my friends at college, give up the college experience. I moved. I didn't get to see really any of my friends during that time. And then right after I got out of Cutco, like 2 years after that, I started selling roofs, and I was storm chasing. And so again, I was halfway across the country from every single person that I knew in my young 20s. I didn't have any social life at all. And I was living out of a Rubbermaid container, basically, that had the rest of my belongings in it, because I had to sell everything that I owned to move across the country and sell roofs. And at that time, we literally gave up everything. And we were on this like pipe dream of the roof sales gig. And in the beginning, you're trying to figure out how to make money, and it was hard. Like, we weren't making money at first because it was really hard to figure out. And so I was driving a 2002 yellow Dodge Neon that the engine flooded twice because it was so low to the ground, and when it rained, it blew out the engine 2 times. I probably replaced, I shit you not, 15 tires on that car, because every time I hit a pothole in it, I had low profile tires on that thing and they would pop. And then after that car died, I started driving a shitty Chevy Blazer that had no AC. This was in Pennsylvania. It was like 100 degrees every day, super humid. I was dying every single day. And on top of that, this part of my car right up here, right above the driver's seat, every single time it rained, and in Pennsylvania, ask anybody that worked with me there, it was raining like 5 days a week. Every single time it rained, water poured in onto the driver's seat, the fabric driver's seat. So that seat, the seat that I'm sitting in, not in this car, but in that car, was wet almost every single day. I would bring a garbage bag to sit on so that my ass wasn't wet. It was terrible. But at the time, I was not going to take out a loan on a car. I spent like $3,000 to get the Chevy Blazer just to get by. And I was living in the shittiest apartment on the planet. Guys, when I tell this story, I just think back to the smell. That's the first thing that comes back to my mind. When we moved to Pennsylvania, I had my dog, and we were selling roofs, and it was really hard to try to find a place in the area that we were working that allowed pets, and this guy was not gonna be with me, you know what I'm saying? And so we finally found this like 3-story house in a pretty shitty part of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And the house basically had 3 apartments in it. So there was a very, very scary basement where you did laundry and tried not to get eaten by tarantulas and ghosts. And then the first floor had this very, very old couple that lived there that like never came out. The second level was me and Trent at the time, my dog. And then the floor above us was this older lady who was really sweet and used to bring me baked goods and candles because she liked me a lot. Anyway, this building had no air conditioning, again, and the couple that lived on the first floor, the old couple, I don't know what they were doing in there all day, but one thing was for sure. One activity they did all day and night was sit in there and just pee on themselves. I shit you not, it smelled so strongly of pungent urine in this building that like I had to cover my face with my shirt when I walked in because it would like get in your mouth. Like you'd take a breath inside and you'd need to scrape your tongue afterward. Like it was so bad. And I don't know what, I don't have answers. I wish I could give you answers about this, but it reeked. And there wasn't air conditioner, but there'd be a blower, and so they would run like the vents, and the vents would come up through, and that smell just permeated the entire apartment. And it was one of those gross apartments that just like, no matter what you did, it was dirty and disgusting, but it was cheap, and we had to live there temporarily and whatever. So I was not spending any money during this time. I wasn't buying new clothes. I wasn't going out to eat. We weren't really going on dates. We went on a handful of dates probably that whole time that we were living there, to like just a small Italian restaurant. I remember doing that a few times. We weren't going to movies. I wasn't taking trips. I wasn't going to concerts. I wasn't going to bars. I wasn't seeing friends. All I was doing was hustling my ass off, and I was doing it with the lowest means possible. Driving shit cars, living in a shit apartment, and not really having any fun. And you know what? It wasn't very fun at the time, but I knew that it was temporary. For these few years for me doing that and working my butt off, I knew that I was going to be able to make 6 figures, doing what I was learning to do, and then obviously go on to create Roof Sales Mastery, which is another whole season of sacrifice, because I was literally working. I would work until 2:00 in the morning, just sitting on my computer, like typing out all this information, like coming up with content material. For those of you that are in the programs, you know how much content there are in those programs. It's insane. I had to make all of that. I had to come up with it out of thin air. And that meant, again, I was focusing on that. I wasn't going out and having fun and because I deserved it, and going and spending the money that at the time I didn't have. And I was okay with that. Guys, if you want something different for your life, you're going to have to be okay with sacrifice temporarily. All right? And if you're not okay with it, then have fun in the rat race, or learn to like the life that you have right now. But there are only 2 options. You make sacrifice to get what you want, or you don't, and you have to learn to be happy with having the mediocre life that you have, with the limited freedom that you have. So examine your life right now. Where are you? If you're a roof salesman and you're like, well, I don't want to go out and knock doors when it's 150 degrees till 8 o'clock at night. Well, sometimes you have to. Do you want it bad enough? Well, I don't want to have to go out and like, the learning curve is really steep and it's taking me weeks to figure this out. Yes, it is. go do that. Or pony up and spend some money on some training so that you don't have to go out and do the trial and error and beat your head against the wall. Okay, if you're somebody who's tough on money right now and money's really tight, stop going to Starbucks and buying $7 coffees 3 or 4 times a week. Stop buying the new iPhone, okay? Stop going out to happy hour twice a week and spending $30 at the bar. Stop going out to sushi once a week with everybody and brunch all the time and going and doing this and going and doing that. You just have to be okay with it. And I promise you, if you'll do that for a short period of time and you get to where you want to be, then you can do anything that you want at any time, whenever you want, with whoever you want. And guys, that's really been my goal, is what does freedom mean to me? I get to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, at any time. And so, but it takes sacrifice to get there in the beginning. So be okay with that. Swits are out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out my website, www.roofsalesmastery.com. And go hustle out there, guys. Bye.